What's happening?
What up? Man, it's been a little over a month, and shit, almost probably two months or so since you've been on because you're so damn busy. You're a busy fella,
man. Yeah. So I'm glad to be here.
Well, I was telling Cheryl, I was like, it felt like we're driving over. I'm going, it feels like it's been forever since we did it. She's like, well, it wasn't that long ago. I said, well, you know what? I said, it's been a while since we had Jose. I said, so I guess that kind of feels, that. I said, but we had a great time with Chucho over there. We had a really good time there. Right? I enjoyed that. We really enjoyed I think I watched that one twice. That was a really good one.
Oh shit! So what's been up?
Same old stuff, man. Grinding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised you could make it today.
Dude, I'm here, man. I'd rather be here than most places. I'll tell you that much. So.
Well, let's get into these things. So first off, I got some Hornitos Anejo. This is shout out to Cuban Liquor. They got this, and then Grand Centenario Cristalino. Got that one as well from there. I'm super excited about that. And then, what you got, Jose?
So that is, it's called Los Abuelos. So for people that aren't familiar with Los Abuelos, it's actually Tequila Fortaleza, which can be found, I think, now pretty readily available around here. Mm-hmm. So it's probably one of the top tequilas on the market right now. The reason there's a name difference is because of trademark infringement. So I think when they started distributing to the United States, there was already a company or brand or something that had the name Los Abuelos, so they had to change the name to Fortaleza, which I think is the actual name of the distillery anyway. Mm-hmm.
And this came from Mexico. Huh?
From Mexico.
Came direct from Mexico.
So yeah, my dad is
still blood on it.
Yeah. Like I've mentioned before, my dad is from Jalisco, which is all tequila originates there. And so when he was going for Christmas, I was like, hey, can you get me a bottle of Los Abuelos? And he's like, I've never heard of it, because he drinks Centenario. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, yeah, just please get me a bottle. And he said he went from the little town we're from, which is, you would think, it's the state where tequila is produced, the home of tequila. Tequila, Jalisco is probably 3 or 4 hours from there. And he said he went to about 4 or 5 different liquor stores, could not find it.
Wow.
And he had to custom order it from like one of the stores to actually go get it from Tequila. Because, I mean, it's a small town too, so, it's probably... for those little shops, it's probably not cost effective to have this sitting on the shelves, So, but yeah, finally he ordered it for me and brought it. So, I mean, we've had it on the podcast before as Fortaleza, but just I think I wanted a bottle that said Los Abuelos because it like the OG.
May taste different too.
Yeah,
we don't know yet. Okay, so what do y'all want to start out with?
About the tequileño.
Yeah.
Tequileño. There's not 2 L's, so it's not a E.
Yeah.
It's a tequileño, a reposado. And the reason I got this one is because I've heard a lot of good things about this brand. And there's 0 additives, 0 sugars in this one and this one. Hornitos, I know, uses additives.
Sure. Yeah,
I'm not sure if the Centenario Cristalino does or not, but this one is a really good. And this was only like $25. And every other tequila, I think, I know this one, another one that we had, well, obviously the Tears has 0 additives, and there was another one that had 0 additives that we had not long ago. Could have been like a Don Julio or something like that. So I want to try this one, but let's do the Hornitos first.
Yeah, let's go with that since it's probably closer to the bottom of the barrel here. Yeah.
But, I think that's a good thing we've mentioned as we progress. And again, we've always mentioned that this is not a tequila review podcast. We're not exactly like experts, but I think as we've continued on this journey and grown through it, we've learned more about the stuff that actually goes into tequila and just being more conscious of stuff, because there is a lot of tequilas out there that maybe we weren't as, we didn't know this as much as we do now, that are additive fueled. Like the reason you're tasting some of that sweet or some whatever those characteristics may be is because it's an additive.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't had tequila in almost 2 weeks, so...
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
I had some last night, I think. But,
I like it.
yeah.
Okay, that's better
What
than
happened,
I thought
man?
it was going to be.
What happened?
Jesus, no wonder I haven't had it. Oh, I do not like that.
You do not like
You
it?
don't like it? I don't think so.
Yeah, I went into it with really, really low expectations,
Me
so
too.
maybe
Yeah.
it's like, okay.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's terrible. I think we've definitely had worse on the show. For
Oh,
sure.
no, we've definitely had worse.
We've had worse. I mean, it's smooth for what it is, I think,
You think that's smooth?
I've been drinking tequila every day. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe you're
You've
just
been off.
You know what it is?
You've been
Okay,
off for 2 weeks.
You know what it is? What it is all this damn Cheeto dust everywhere. The pollen.
Yeah.
My throat.
Oh, it's got mine
It's
fucked
scratchy
up too. Yeah, it's
right
got
now.
mine fucked up
Yeah,
too.
it'll do it.
So this was like pouring alcohol on it. But it does. It's got a nice smoky. It's got a nice smoky flavor to it.
Got some sweetness. And
But I will say it's the best Hornitos I've had
yes.
Yeah.
of that brand. It's actually one of the best ones I've had.
only ever had it, Hornitos, I believe Reposado, like in mixing, using mixing and stuff.
Well,
like
you know, I know this is also made. There's another. They also make. Let's see here. There's another brand that they make. It's one of their. This is their lower end.
It's salsa.
But I think is it salsa or is it Don Julio?
They make salsa, I know.
Oh, do they? Well, I like
Yeah.
salsa.
Yeah.
I like it.
Oh, salsa. Okay.
It's pretty good for.
What
for
is the
mixing
price
stuff.
point on this one? Did you?
This
happen to
one
look?
is like around $30,
Okay,
$32.
which
So
is
not bad for the
reasonable.
Neho.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
Not.
yeah.
I mean, you're
Yeah.
Neho usually getting in the $60
Right,
range. If it's
right.
a decent box,
Like if you were gonna say like $50, I was gonna like don't
Yeah,
do
fuck
it.
that. Yeah,
But
no, yeah.
30. Yeah, that's
This would actually be good to make a banana foster sauce with.
Banana Foster.
There you go.
That's more like a rum then.
yeah.
Yeah.
You use bourbon or rum in Bananas Foster?
Rum, always learned to do rum, but this is good.
I had a Bananas Foster one time. I was working with when I was working with. I'm not going to say which organization it was because they're first responders, and we went to dinner with the retirement board or something because I was managing some of their assets, and they'd come into town for their monthly meeting. One time they came here and we went over to Ernest's.
Yeah.
And one of the head guys, really good guy, one of my favorite guys in the world, he decided he'd make the Bananas Foster. So they brought it out. He said he was going to make the Bananas Foster, right? And this motherfucker, he's just pouring it. Whew, it goes up in the air, pours it again. And I had some, and I was hammered from one bite of that. And Cheryl's like, are you okay?
Is that before you started
Are you
drinking?
going to drink? Yeah, that's before
Yeah.
I started drinking.
Yeah.
But I mean, that thing you could go, whoa! I mean, it was mostly Foster's. It was a very little banana. It was pretty much wild. Your daughter had a birthday, didn't she?
Yeah, she just turned 16. The big one, 6.
16.
Yeah, it's a little wild, man.
Shit's getting real.
Shit is real. So luckily she didn't get. She got a permit a little late, so it bought me a couple months on the car thing. So, but hopefully by the summer, I mean, you know, not hopefully. I mean it in a good end because it's like now I got to spend more money, but also I don't have to drive her around everywhere anymore. So
Yeah, especially at that age, they want to do everything.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like,
So-
okay.
Yeah, I remember like I texted y'all before this. I was like, I'm gonna be late. I thought
Yeah.
I was gonna have to go pick her up. My wife got out on time, so I was like, okay, good. So, but yeah, it's wild. It's definitely it's a wild thing. So it just shows you how quick time flies by.
How old were you when you got your license?
I got my license at 16. I had my permit. I bought my first vehicle on my own at 14, got my permit. So I had a vehicle sitting there for 6 or 8 months before I could even drive it. I got a permit at 15, and I was driving more than I should have been with that permit.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I was
Halting.
Yeah, halting, man. I would drive to school. Mom would get pissed off. She'd be sleeping. She'd wake up. My fucking truck was gone. She's like, you can't do that. It's illegal. I'm like, man, no one gives a shit.
Nobody cares. How old were you?
I was 16 when I got my license and started driving.
Yeah.
16?
16
Yeah.
months. I was like his daughter. I got my permit late.
What about you?
18.
18.
Because I lived in Europe. I lived in Italy. You can't drive until you're 18.
Okay.
Wow.
So all the time I was there, it's like you can ride a moped, but you can ride a moped up until 14. And I think when you hit 15, you can ride a 125, 50 to 125. And then you have to be, I think, 17 to ride a 250 or over motorcycle. But you had to be 18 to get an actual driver's license.
What
And
age can you drink though?
Whenever you want.
That's just so crazy.
You know,
Dude,
and
they have
what's crazy-
laws about like driving.
Bro,
But it's like
it was so funny because we would our bus driver would stop because we lived like 20 minutes out of the base, and so our bus driver would stop at one of the little alimentarias, one of the little like little stores, convenience stores, and he'd get out and go get like a drink or a cappuccino, and we'd get out and go get cigarettes. And we're on our way to school, right? And so we're on a military base. The school's right here. There's a road right here. There's a park over here. We're all smoking in the park. Just like, hey, it's, nobody
Yeah.
gives a shit, Until my dad called me. Did I tell you guys about the time my
I don't
dad caught me
think so, no,
smoking?
no.
Okay, let's have another shot at tequila
Yeah,
because
let's
this
go.
is a good story.
What do you want?
So anyways, you wanted to know about...
Yeah, what's up with these digs
so,
you got, bro?
So anyway, this is 2 reasons. First of all, I want to promote that killer episode you had with Mario.
Oh, okay.
All right, with Mario Chavez.
Yeah.
And I'd listened. That was a great episode. So if you guys haven't heard it, go hear it. And second of all, I liked how he talked about how he would dress nice. I was like, you know what? I used to dress nice all the time, and then I stopped. And so I pulled the Giorgio Armani out of the closet. I'm like, I never get to wear nice clothes anymore. But I still have my bacon. Bacon. Drums are the bacon of music. My brother got me that. But he had a really good point. The fact that when you dress a certain way, people, not only do you feel different, people act differently towards you. Yeah. Like I used to walk into, I used to go to concerts in suits. I could walk anywhere I wanted. Nobody stopped me. Nobody said, hey, they just figured I was working there, something like that. If I was in jeans and a t-shirt, you always get a thing. But when you're dressed nice and when you're, you take good care of yourself and you're dressed nice, they also assume you either have a responsibility there and people don't talk to you. They leave you alone. And so I'm like, that's cool. So he had a really good point about he would dress up and people would go in their pajamas and he would dress up. So when I was in high school, which one are we doing next?
Y'all's call.
Let's do this one.
Let's go with this. Let's try it out.
So when I was in high school, I decided I wanted to dress like Alex P. Keaton from Family Ties.
Okay.
Do you remember that show, Family Ties?
I know what it is.
Michael J. Fox.
I never watched it. Yeah.
So he was like a young Republican, right? I didn't know Republican, Democrat. I didn't know anything different than that. But I just liked his professionalism and his character. So when I was in 10th grade, I started wearing dress shirts and it smells nice.
So it's very citrusy.
It's very citrusy, yeah.
Reposado. Let's see here.
Before I taste it, let me guess. Grapefruit? No?
I'd say more on the lime, lemon lime.
Yeah. It's very mild.
Yeah.
It's really fucking good.
It's very mild. It's
very smooth. $25,
yeah.
This shit's delicious.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I
Zero
heard good
sugars.
things about that brand.
Yeah. So I started dressing real nice, and then when I got older, I started, buying nice clothes and everything like that. And but going back to, but that's why I'm wearing it. It's like I want to represent, when dressed nice. I never get to dress. I go to a black church and I don't dress nice. I don't dress like I'm going to a black church. So I decided to wear it. So this is to honor, Mario. But when I was in high school, everybody got smoked. Well, we used to stay home after school. Well, we used to stay on base after school if you were in athletics. You do track or you do your practice, and then there was a shuttle bus that took you home. But there was one shuttle bus. So the shuttle bus would go to Caravigno, San Vito, and to Ostuni. So sometimes we'd go to Brindisi. So it'd be like sometimes you wouldn't get home for an hour after school or after that. And so I would stick around, and after practice, we'd go smoke. So I'm walking with a friend of mine up down the street, and all of a sudden I hear, Ben, and I turn around, and I hear it's my dad's voice. So I drop the cigarette, and I walk around. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just going to catch the shuttle bus." He's like, "How long have you been smoking?"
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, not just for a while. He was like, uh-huh. And so he goes, "We'll talk about this when you get home." I'm like, fuck. Okay, so we go walking, and then he was waiting to get my mom because she was in after-school class, getting a college degree in after-school classes type thing. And so I go walking down the hallway of the school because the school was like outside, open, and all of a sudden my dad comes walking up, and the girl next to the girl's walking with Charity. He looks at her and goes, "You got a cigarette?" She goes, "Yeah." She pulls a cigarette and hands him one. He breaks the butt off, and he puts it in my mouth. And he goes, "Eat it, chew it, and chew it." And he goes, "You have another one?" She's like, "Uh-huh." She goes, he breaks it off, puts that one in my mouth. He goes, "Eat it." He's like, and so I'm chewing. He goes, "Now swallow it." And I'm like, and I'm like, and about to die. He goes, "That's what you do in your body." And he walked away, right? So I go, and I'm walking. I go to my friend's house. I'm knocking. So I'm like, my dad made me a cigarette. I have not smoked a cigarette since that day. So if you ever catch your kids smoking cigarettes, make them eat it.
Make them eat it.
Because it is the worst thing that you can have.
I don't think it's not the vape's the issue now, right? Like when we were in high school, cigarette smoking was still cool, but it wasn't as cool as it was, probably when you were. But now it's like it's the vape thing. And there's not been enough time to go by to see if this shit's really harmful or not.
That's what scares me is that there's no long term, we haven't seen the long term effects of what vaping is.
And the fucking nicotine content's like 5 times what a
is
cigarette.
It really?
Yes, because you can buy my wife does. I'm just like, you gotta quit this shit. But but it's better than, she's like, what's better than smoking cigarettes? I was like, I guess, because it's proven that
we don't know yet,
right? But you have a concentration of that that liquid in the you can get like a higher concentration of nicotine, which makes it that much more addictive, right?
Right.
But yeah, man. So that's something that I think we're gonna have to watch out for, especially with these kids.
Yeah, I don't know what that does to lungs
But
and all that kind of stuff. So.
They do have some good regulations on it. Like they've cracked down on like online orders. So you can order it online, but you have to have your ID and you have to sign in person with an ID to receive the package. So they're cracking down on it a little bit. So I mean, I guess it's kind of trying to prevent the underage buy, But
Yeah.
But I didn't drink when I was a kid. I didn't drink. I hated it. I hated
I did, but I've never smoked. I've never I tried a cigarette at one point, but it never it never appealed to me. Like my dad's a big smoker, so I would just always never. I mean, he wasn't one of those people that like smoked inside the house or in the car.
Right.
But he did. He still to this day he smokes a lot, and I think I just saw that, and it like never just appealed to me.
My grandfather smoked a lot. I mean, he smoked and drank. That's pretty much what he did. That was his occupation. And then he was a part-time plumber when he wasn't drinking or smoking. And then he stopped. He stopped doing it. And I think like 5 or 10 years later, he died from lung cancer. Yeah. But it was neat to see him as I got older. I went to visit him like before he passed away, and so it's kind of interesting to see him and talk to him as an adult. Because I hadn't really talked to him as an adult, so much. And when he was not doing well, I told my mom, I said, "Well, I'll fly to New Mexico and I'll go for a week." Because we're like every kid or grandkid was trying to go and like help my grandmother, and he had like a live-in nurse type of thing that worked with him too, but just to kind of help around the house. So I went and spent about a week with them, and it's so funny that one of my uncles, called my mom and goes, "Your son is so good. He's such a good person." Blah blah blah. I'm like, this is what I expect everybody to do.
Yeah.
This is not something that is foreign to me to go take care of my grandfather. I mean, I took care of my mom when she had cancer. I mean, I think what taught me how to be a good caregiver of any kind of sort was my mom had cancer, and my dad was in the military, so he was either on TDY or deployment or something like that. So when she'd have her chemo treatments, she'd come home, guarantee 4 or 5 o'clock, she's vomiting in the toilet, right? And so I go and I'm walking into the bathroom, and I'm probably in 6th grade, maybe 5th or 6th grade, and I'm just rubbing her back like this, like I don't know what to do, but just rubbing her back, and getting a cold towel and doing that. So anytime my children were sick or my wife has been sick, it's never been like, oh my God, what do we do? What do we do? So I think growing up and living with somebody like that, it teaches you. Well, no, that teaches you to have patience too, because you have no control over how somebody else is handling their chemo or something like that. So you can't be like, upset about it.
No, you can't. You can't get impatient or aggravate. I mean, you can, but I mean, what the fuck is it going to do?
Not everybody has that in them, though, man. Honestly, like it's a weird dynamic.
I'm not good at that shit.
I'm not either.
And I just be honest, because when I'm sick, I don't want nobody fucking with me at all. I'm like, don't rub my fucking back, don't touch me, don't get fucking close to me. Like, that's how I am, man. I just don't want to be fucked with.
Dude, I'm the fucking worst. I'm the biggest child about everything.
When was the last time you were really, really sick?
Shit, I don't know, man. Like, really, really sick? I don't know, because like I said, I'm a child about it, so...
Did you get COVID?
I did twice.
Yeah, COVID
the
twice.
First one fucking sucked.
Did you? Were you a little bitch about it, or were you?
I was the worst bitch about it. But no, me and my wife both got it, and we had a newborn.
Oh my God!
And it was like the second time I got COVID, it was just like a common cold. But the first time, it fucked me up.
Really?
Like, there's points where I'm gonna have to go to the hospital because I can't fucking breathe.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I think I had it when we were in Colorado to get married. Well, no one knows we were getting married, but we were up there, and I think I had it because I was having. My wife and I, we found like a CrossFit gym to go work out while we were up there on like a little vacation. And then we went to go run some hills. And we're already at fucking high altitude, right in Colorado Springs. And
that's
then we go to run
altitude
some hills.
right there.
And she always beats me on like any cardio shit, but she was like gone. And my chest, I couldn't breathe. My chest was hurting so bad.
Yeah.
And I
Were
think
you coughing on it?
I was coughing. Yes, like we go to the CrossFit and I'd be working out and I'd get hot, so I start coughing so hard. And I walked out of the gym and I was just having a coughing fit, and then my heart rate dropped down. Then I go back in the gym because I didn't want to be around anyone because we knew that shit was going on. Yeah. But I never got tested up there. And then
did you check your O2 levels at all?
I didn't do anything. Okay. I just rolled with it, man. I was like, fuck it. I said it might be an altitude too. I didn't know. And so I got back but I never had that problem in altitude before. So I got back and I was like, man, it might have been COVID and the altitude. Who knows?
Yeah.
Now that altitude will mess with you.
Oh, that stuff will fuck you up.
Well,
man.
but yeah, but I've been before, like the previous year, and didn't
me
have
too.
no problem. So
I mean, and that was one thing. Well, because we even talked about that high altitude pulmonary edema in the last episode. It's like you can do this every year, and then 1 year, bam! It's how your body. There's no prerequisite. There's nothing like that.
I kept
So
getting like nosebleeds, dude. Like randomly, like we'd be somewhere and it's just like,
really,
oh shit, I'm dying. You know,
wow,
but it's-
you're like Final. No, what's it called? Not Final Destiny, but the one with Mila Jovovich.
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil, yeah, like Resident Evil. You're fucking bleeding everywhere.
Yeah.
All right, what we going with next?
You want the Cristalino or the? Let's do the Cristalino because I want to do this one last.
Okay, let's do it. I have high expectations for this, and if
I do too. I like
if
the
it,
bottle.
Like I said,
disappoints me.
I love that brand.
Okay, let's see here. I don't feel like turning this a million times, but here we go. Grand Centenario Cristalino is a perfectly crafted, expertly crafted blend of our finest añejo and extra añejo tequilas, carefully finished in Cavados cask and filtered through a meticulous process that includes Mexican silver. The result is an ultra
that copper?
smooth and crystal clear tequila of unparalleled quality and taste. So this has silver in it, guys, I guess.
Man.
Great. I have an iron deficiency. We'll be good.
There's an AG.
Oh, the periodic table.
It's an AU.
Yeah. Fuck if I know. Supposed to be on that, Jamie. Yeah, it's fucking good.
That is smooth.
Yeah, it's good.
That's sweet.
Yeah. But every time you get a Cristalino, they're sweet like that.
Yeah.
Because the way they're filtered.
You know, I still need to do research on Cristalinos. Like I said, we've always talked about this, that this isn't a review show. We're not like tequila experts. We're
We just like to
tequila
drink.
drinkers.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and we brought this up in previous podcasts. Like, what is the filtering effect doing to the flavors? Are we affecting certain things?
Yeah, and I don't know if this has an additive or not
Right.
either. You know, like, I haven't researched it. Just like you said, I mean, it's like we're in a process of just tasting it, saying we like it or not. You know.
Yeah.
Well, when you and I had that first episode, I brought a Cristalino. I bought that Volcan de mi Tierra.
Yes.
The one that was like the top one
Yes.
at Wine and More, and I was really impressed by that. And I was like, I never even knew what.
Well, we never had
Cristalino
anything
was.
like
Yeah,
that
it
before.
was like,
I never had either,
I was like, wow.
and I didn't know what the fuck that even meant. But now you're seeing multiple brands come out with it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, who knows? I mean, it's like I said. I think for the most part, everyone we've had has been good.
Yeah.
On the Cristalino side, but who knows? It might could be just another gimmick to make us spend $100.
Yeah, I mean, it's filtered and put some additives in it. I don't know.
Yeah.
The Casa Dragones you got, was that a Cristalino or was that
Nah,
just
it
an añejo? It was just
I went back to that place to see if they put another bottle out
They
at
didn't.
said
They
deal.
didn't.
They had it right this time. I was like, dang.
should have bought them both.
I know, man.
So how's business?
Business is good, man. Business is busy. Just a lot of moving parts right now. It's
And you guys are coming out with a peanut butter and jelly.
we did already.
You
Is
did.
that waves?
Yeah, people love that.
How
shit.
is
Your
that?
waves
Is
is
it?
like
Yeah, but it's wild. Like I don't necessarily like. It's not my favorite. Like I don't go there and just drink like a PB&J sour, but they are like really popular.
So what does it taste like?
Like peanut butter and
Peanut butter and jelly.
with some tartness.
Really?
Yeah, people love it, man.
everyone
Like,
loves
I'm
your
gonna-
waves. Like
I'm gonna
everyone I
have to
talk
go.
to, like I see your waves on tap places now.
Yeah.
I'm like, they love that shit. I haven't tried it either because I'm not a beer drinker, but we need to try it. next time.
Yeah.
Well, like we have a buddy that owns We Olive, and he's got a way where he can mix an olive oil and a balsamic vinegar with two different types, and it tastes like a Starburst.
it's so
It was
wild.
the weirdest thing, and I mean, I love it. I love it. I mean, I'll dip anything, and I'll dip candy in olive oil. You know,
Is that from living in Italy?
pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like having that
Yeah.
that smoky flavor, that
Yeah.
nice flavor. And the thing is, I don't like olives.
Me either.
I like cooked olives, like on my pizza, and I like olive oil, and I cook everything in olive oil. But I want to try cooking in avocado oil because I heard that's a better oil to cook in. And it's got a higher
smoke
smoke temperature.
point.
Yeah,
higher
yeah.
smoke temperature.
Yeah.
So it's cooking class now too.
Yeah.
And but there you go. But
He was
uh,
ready to call us out.
yeah, no, man. I just saying.
I was like,
You're right. No, I was going to say something, but so, and I tried like different balsamics, and I was drinking them like like a drink. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh. And then he had this pineapple. This one had like a pineapple infusion, and he put it in his water. I'm like, well, shit, in Rome. When in Rome, put it in mine too. I tried. It was different.
Yeah.
I like my water to be clean, but I wanted to try it, and it was a very interesting flavor. I could taste the olive oil in that, though. It was a little bit of pineapple, but I could really taste the olive oil.
Yeah.
In it. But it was really good. It was a really good location.
It's weird, dude. As brewers, like we don't get the benefit of the doubt. Like people are quick to call us out. Like we do a peanut butter and jelly beer. They're like, that doesn't belong in beer. That's not a beer. Blah blah blah. But then no one bats an eye when they're drinking a cocktail with Smirnoff green apple vodka.
Oh, yeah.
Or Crown
fucking
vanilla.
peach. Or
Yeah,
whatever,
shit like that.
Crown
And it's
apple.
like, yeah, no one says shit about that. But
Yeah.
then we do it on the beer side. They're like, oh, that's not a beer. That's not. And I'm like, okay, man.
Okay, well, tell all these people here then that. Tell all these
Yeah.
people that.
No, I just said it. Like,
well,
let us. That's the beauty of being craft brewers is that we can experiment and do different crazy
It's
shit.
a way to express yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So you find like that waves thing's beautiful, and I'm sure like as far as how it's taken off, but I'm sure other breweries do things similar.
Oh, yeah, very.
But like no one else is doing that around here except
Right.
you guys.
Yeah.
You know, and it's working well
Yeah.
and people like it.
Yeah, so it's just, and we knew that when we started craft brewery that part of it's going to be education too.
So you guys have like a dartboard and just throw it at and go, okay, let's see what we're going to do this time. Let's try
Yeah, we kind of have these
licorice.
production meetings and we're like, okay, this might taste good. Let's do this. Blah blah blah.
So it's not a matter of like you've been somewhere and tried something and want to do something
sometimes
similar.
we see somebody that did something like, oh, we could try that. We could do that better, or we could.
You do a jelly belly.
What's a good example of something you thought was going to just shit the bed and it worked out great?
Peanut butter and jelly? No, I'm just kidding.
That is one of them.
Okay. One of them,
I didn't
yeah.
think because we don't do those on large batch. We
Yeah.
do them on like a small batch, and it's basically most of the time it'll just be 1 or 2 kegs of it.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, if we release one like on a Wednesday and it's a Wednesday night in Shreveport on Linwood Avenue, we will sell out of that 1 or 2 kegs on a Wednesday night, which is wild for
Yeah.
us. It's like
That's
okay.
awesome.
So yeah, I never thought that like that would be a thing here.
Yeah.
I know in other areas of the country, they call them like smoothie sours or stuff like that. And I know in other areas of the country that has taken off, but I never thought like here they would. But obviously, it is something new. Nobody else does that kind of stuff. So for us, it's like.
Have you noticed that about this area? When you said, it was very interesting that you said that, like you didn't think it would be like this area would be really into that.
Yeah.
Have you noticed this area starting to
We're trying to catch
evolve?
up. We're trying to catch up.
Yeah.
We're like
we're-
Austin 8 years ago.
Yeah, it's almost like it's almost like North Bossier is becoming like Plano.
Yeah.
It's like you get a lot of things moving out that way, and you have a lot of businesses that have been in Mid Bossier for years, and now they're moving to North Bossier. Like Pediatric Dental Partners and Dr. Graff and all them, they're moving on North Airline.
Yeah.
And their Dr. Graff is like right across the parking lot from us. And I'm thinking, okay, so they're going to move out. We have like 4 or 5 dentists that work around us.
Yeah.
I'm like, if they move out, what's going to happen? Is somebody coming in to move here? Well, what's going to happen? But I have noticed though, there's a lot of progression. I don't want to say progressiveness, but there's a lot of progress moving in our area, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying seeing that. It's kind of nice. You still have like every now and then you get, for lack of a better word, the rednecks that cause problems and act up, and you see them everywhere, and you're like, man, that's why you can't have nice things. But then you're starting to see more of a refined type of individual staying here instead of moving to Dallas or something like that.
I think our culture's becoming better because we have so many people traveling in and out of here. I think, being that we have the base and everything, I think finally it's starting to kind of mend some of our society. I'm not sure, but
yeah, because we've pretty much just been this place has pretty much just been a military type of location.
Right, but it's never blended with other areas well.
Right, right.
It's always been its own thing. Now it seems to be a little more.
As far as Shreveport Bossier been its own thing.
We get a very large military crowd at the Seventh Tap, and I don't know if it's because we're a little piece of like what they have in certain bigger cities.
It's like if you go to certain restaurants that you love here, but they're super specific and unique, you'll see military people there because it's something they're used to tasting abroad, but they can't get it anywhere else here.
Oh,
it's good.
Good as I remember.
That's like a pillow.
It's good. You I can't. I don't drink it other than when we've had it on here, so I don't know if it's exactly the same as the other. I mean,
know.
You drink it quite a bit, don't you?
I think this is smoother.
Really?
Yeah, it is. And maybe it's just because of the amount of time
Yeah.
that it takes to get to here and everything. I don't know if it ages or what, but this is very pillowy.
Mm-hmm.
It's very smooth. It's got a little bit of a smoke. There's a little bit of a
Oh, that's just a little acid reflux, man. Yeah, I'm good to go. Good to go.
Oh yeah, that's real nice. It touches all the parts.
Yeah, I like it.
It doesn't just stay on the tongue. It doesn't just stay on the back of the mouth.
They are.
I still Cristalino, man. I'm
All right,
stuck with them.
I'll
I'm
tell you
stuck with them.
I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put a little Cristalino in this. I'm gonna go.
I'm stuck with it for
Back
some
and forth.
reason. Like I just love them, but like I'm gonna find out that this has a shitload of additives, then I'll quit drinking it probably. You know, but I don't know if it does or
It's
not.
just all sugar and water.
Yeah, if it is, I'm like, okay, well, no wonder it tastes so fucking good. When it says 100% agave, that's great, but it may add something to it. Who knows? You know.
Okay, you definitely taste. I definitely taste char on this one.
Oh, right after drinking that.
Mm-hmm. This one I don't taste any kind of char. It's just like a nice, smooth flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good shit.
that's real good. So I was talking to my hairdresser yesterday.
Okay.
And I came up with a thing. You know, I always talk about Disney. Okay. You weren't here last time. We had a Disney.
Yeah, it
thing
was a
going
whole ordeal.
on. Well, we went to Disney on Ice this
Yeah.
last Friday, right?
Okay.
And she was asking me because she's a real big Disney fan too, and she said, you know, how was it? You know, it's like, oh, I said it was wonderful. I was actually really surprised. And I said, you know, I've gotten into the habit of like on Saturdays or Sunday afternoons when I'm done with everything I got to do and I'm just chilling in my studio. I'm just laying down, my dog's on top of me, or just we're just rolling. I like to watch live streams from the parks. You know, there's always somebody live streaming something. And she's like, oh, you got the bug. I said, you know what it is? I said, I've realized it's like an abusive relationship, okay? Because I have hated the company for so long because of their decisions and things they did. Well, thank God, Bob Iger's back in and they're doing, they're trying to reverse a couple things and change some things. But I said, what it is, it's almost like I forget the bad time. I forget like how horrible things were at one point in time when they do something extravagant. Like I see something, like, oh, they brought me flowers or they took me out to eat. I saw Disney on Ice or saw something like that. So it made me go, oh, they're wonderful. And I forget about all that other crap, right? But I figured it out. It's like, and it's only because I want to be, I enjoy that. I enjoy it as a corporation. I enjoy it as a company. So my anger came from like going, okay, why are you making it all about profit? I mean, I'm a shareholder and there's things that you just have to go, okay, we may make money on this, we may not make money on this, but we're going to do it because in the end, it becomes a better experience. And the older I've gotten, the more I'm interested in experiences than I am in obtaining things.
Yeah.
And especially with Disney and the way they operate, I've decided that I can like certain things that they do, but I've noticed they've gotten a lot less preachy. Have you noticed that?
I mean, I don't pay attention to them.
Well, like you said that movie, the movie you watched. What movie did you see? That was
where
Thor or something like that.
Yeah, it kind of gets a little woke there.
Yeah, it becomes like this whole thing.
Yeah, where it wasn't even. It's not that I have a problem with that. It's that has nothing to do with anything. Why did you inject it into here?
Yeah, it did not feed the story at all.
Right.
So they're going back to what I feel is they're going back to the roots of
grassroots. That's good.
Storytelling, things like that. But I will say this: I mean, the production was amazing.
Yeah.
It was park quality production, and so. But that's a fun thing to do with. I like to do a lot of live streaming on stuff like that. Not just like the parks, but like if like Pipeline in Hawaii on Oahu when they had the Pipeline Pro. Or when they have surfing competitions, I always love live streaming stuff, and just like technology itself is the best thing. I mean, especially in today's time. My grandson can wake up and I'm like, "Hey, Butterbean, what are you doing?" It's like, "I'm up. Where are you?" And I'm looking at him on my phone. I'm 2 rooms away. I'll be here in a minute.
Yeah, there's I'm really interested to see what happens with these kids that are like his age, my kid's age, your kid's age, like as they, like someone was saying something the other day, like someone saying they saw a TikTok video where someone said, "Oh my God, wouldn't it be so cool if you just had a a phone that you can only use to call people, and it was only in your. I think someone in BNI might have been saying that, and I don't know if it was or not, but I remember someone saying that, and I was like, we had that already, you know, like, but it's funny how this generation coming up is going to be so foreign to everything. I do think that we are extremely fortunate to see so much progression in technology. Yeah. Over the course of our. I mean, look, we're really
right now. It's fucking wild.
We're really fucking young. Like if you think about it, like in a 30 to 40 year time span, 50 year time span, look how much has happened. Right. You know, whereas 50 years previous to that, a lot happened, but it wasn't like that drastic.
Dude, we were the dudes like from dial up being the most innovative shit to like what was that 18 years ago, 20 years ago. To now we have like the fastest computer in the world in the palm of
our hand. Yeah, but before we were literally fucking trying to watch porn and it would time out, or trying to download shit on Napster. You know? Like it's fucking 5 hours to get a CD.
You have to leave it on overnight. Yeah.
You wake up next morning, then it timed out. You're like, motherfucker. You know, it only had 2 songs. Yeah, 12.
And you'd be listening to songs. All of a sudden, there's something else in the middle of it. Like
these motherfucking kids don't know the struggle, bro. They can just type it in.
YouTube, like YouTube.
Remember the first camera phone, dude? The most pixelated fucking shit ever. Yeah. You like watch this, dude. Yeah, let's check this out, man.
It's like 8-bit. Looks like an 8-bit video game.
Yeah, man. It's we got to see the transition from fucking Atari to fucking VR.
Yeah, dude.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fucking wild.
Insane. You know, or the computers. Remember the old computers that were just fucking black background with green numbers?
Yeah. I remember we had a Texas Instruments computer. This was like back.
I didn't know they made computers.
They used to make computers. Yeah,
that's the graphing calculator company. Right?
Yeah, that's the calculator company.
Money off every fucking high schooler.
Yeah, they're in Dallas. Yeah, they got big. A friend of mine is an attorney for them. But I remember when we were living in New Mexico, my dad says, "Oh, we got a computer." I'm like, "Sweet!" And it was a Texas Instruments. And what it consisted of was a keyboard, a cassette player. You had to provide your own monitor, your own TV. Mm-hmm. And what it was is all the programs were on cassettes, and the cassettes made the the digital noises, and that would download a program onto the Texas Instrument computer. And like the first game we ever had, we had a game, and it was like called something Cave, and it was one of those. What do you do? You know, like do you go in? Do you turn on your light? Do you do all these other things? It's boring as hell, but at the time it was like, oh, this is like the next level. Yeah. And it became like, okay, well, this is kind of a computer, but really it's more of a word processor type thing. And it wasn't. And then from there I moved to Italy, and we had no computers. And I came back to the mainland, and when I came back to the mainland, Windows had just kind of started popping up. We had like a little, PC. And then it was like, oh, we didn't even have Windows. We had DOS. Yeah. It's like when you installed Windows, then everything was a shit. But it was still 6-bit. I mean, by then it was like, it had like 4 blocks, and that was the Windows. And so it was and I was probably 90, I'd say that was around 91 that we got like our first computer that had Windows in it. And then, started working with computers, and work and stuff like that. But to see where they, obviously where they've come is unbelievable.
Yeah, progression from that, and like just everything. Progression of the way the way we can connect. There's always been like, okay, so used to they would have a wire, right, or telegram, so you fucking send it over wire across the nation, and you could get a message quickly. But now I can literally communicate with someone within a millisecond. That's thousands of miles away. That's just fucking. It's insane to think about when it wasn't available 10 years ago.
Even when it was fucking available, like a text message. Like, remember you used to have to do like the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Shit
do
like
you
that.
remember when
and
you got
like,
your?
You got 200 like a month or some shit.
Yeah.
And that was like obscene because you're like, I might send. I don't even know how to use it. I'm not sending no text message.
Yeah, I don't know how to use that shit.
Do you remember the first time you got a text message?
Call me after 9 when my shit's free. Remember that?
Yeah. I remember the first time.
Unlimited nights and weekends.
Yeah. I remember the first time I got a text message. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Me too. I was in high school, and I was getting them on my little prepaid Kyocera I had. Yeah. And it was like, what the fuck? And it was a text message, but we weren't using them yet. Yeah. And I was 17 years old, and we weren't texting yet.
Right. No,
and this was 2006. You were class 06. I was This is 06
that wasn't
for me.
a thing, really.
I remember when we got the bill, when my daughter.
Oh fuck.
what? Because it used to be like almost like what 10 cents a text. I mean,
Fuck
it was
yeah.
like a ridiculous amount. And we had like this huge bill, and it came in and it showed every text. It didn't say what was in it, but it showed the number for every text. And so it got to the point where one of my daughters, we had to take her phone away at 9 o'clock. It's like, okay, give us your phone. You know, we're going to lock it up. You can have it in the morning. You know, because I mean, we're like looking at the bill, and it's like 6 pages of just text messages. It was like $250 extra. That was when $250 was a lot of money.
Yeah, for
now
some
it's a
shit-
bottle of
for
tequila.
Somebody to say, "What's up, bro?"
Yeah, what's up? Yeah, you know,
what
and
you
then a
doing?
lot of them are like 10, 11 o'clock at night. Who the fuck are you texting
Yeah.
at, you know, 10, 11 o'clock at night? And so then we, you know, you got into that whole every text, everything. And do you remember when internet used to be metered? When you used to get, after so many gigabytes, they'd start charging you per.
Yeah.
And so I used to like watch Bob's Burgers when I'd go to sleep. So I'd watch it on Netflix.
Oh, fuck,
right?
and it keep
so,
running?
Yeah, to keep running, you know. And then Cheryl goes, "Our bill's $400 more this month than last month." I'm like, "What?" And she goes, "Yeah, they show all this." I was like, "Oh, I didn't know that they were going to charge that
Damn
for
Bob's
that."
Burgers,
Oh, shit.
dude.
So, but then like the next month after that or something like that, they ended up, you know, having unlimited.
Yeah.
So, you know, we do the limited.
Well, then
But
they have the unlimited now, but then they still dial your shit down. where it's
I've
slow.
noticed-
It's like, what the fuck? It's not unlimited.
when Sprint got out and went with T-Mobile, or they merged with T-Mobile, we have horrible reception at my house. It's like it's not very good. I don't like it at all. It's like, okay, you know, I'm losing calls and stuff. And I like what John Mulaney said. Dude, back in the day when you were talking on the phone with somebody and they just disappeared, you were like, oh my God, they got murdered. Nowadays, it's like, oh, we lost them. You know,
Yeah.
you go back and, you know, you don't worry about it because
Yeah.
that's just how it is. But, yeah, times have changed. Did you try some of this? Abuelos?
He's gonna wait a minute.
I'm gonna try that Cristalino again, man.
Yeah, I had to run it. I had to rerun it, man. Let's see. I had to run it one more time. Run it back. Let's see what we do.
Try it and then try that.
Yeah,
It's definitely fruitier.
that's what I'll do.
It definitely tastes.
Actually, no, I want to try this with
Okay.
this because I'm liking it. I'm digging this whatever the hell it's called. I haven't drank enough tequila to be able to pronounce that yet.
So what else has been up, guys?
How's your 2023?
2023 has been good, dude. I can honestly say it's been fun. Got a lot of wild shit coming up that hopefully we talked about it. Hopefully next podcast we'll be able to announce a lot of shit in the works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Multiple things. So it's been good, man. I hooked up with a couple guys from around town. And we started a nonprofit too, so I'm getting into that.
Really?
What are y'all doing?
Talk
So
about
we're
that.
doing it's a nonprofit for the Latino and Hispanic community.
Awesome.
Orale. Okay. How come I didn't get the memo?
You know, it's just something different, and it's
I'm not dark enough.
He's trying to be on the board of directors. He dresses the part.
it's a bunch of like actual like there's not very many prominent Latino and Hispanic people around here, but I think we have the right group of people, and it's super small right now. We're hoping to grow it. It's called Raza.
Orale.
So
Okay.
the plan would be to just kind of help people with providing scholarships for young Hispanic kids coming out of high school, because there's not something like that. Just a lot of help to Latino people, because a lot of people come to this country and they have no understanding or idea of how this country works, and it's more like cultural, like assimilation, like how things work here, helping people in multiple aspects of life on how this country operates, and then just kind of just I think for me the big draw was that we will get to work with young kids and kind of give them the opportunities that I wish I had. Not even the opportunities, the knowledge. Like, I didn't know shit, dude. I went into college. I was just like, hey, man, whatever. I'm going to college, you know, because it was something to do.
Yeah.
And I found out
'Cause you were
quick
told
that
to.
Yeah, I found out quick that it was not something to do. It
Yeah.
was something that you had to take serious. And then just as life progressed, just like even from the business aspect, like
Have
stuff
you-
that I had no clue about.
Have you gone with Mario Chavez about this yet?
I'm not.
You need
You
to call
have
his
to,
ass
yeah.
because he's going to be like, I'll be on the board.
No, he'll be all.
I have
You'll be
not.
all about it. And I'm all about that too. But I got to tell you, you know what? Sometimes, I got to say this. Sometimes, even I'm embarrassed of some of the Mexicans. Okay? I'm like, orale, you know what? I love it when I drive by a place and I see Mexicans hard at work. They're drilling holes. They're putting up roofs. They're doing shit like that. When I see a Mexican with a sign for food, like, you know, help me, you know, those people you see with signs, I'm like, okay, you missed the boat because we don't do that. Okay.
Do you see much of that?
I did. I saw that. I saw that twice.
I don't see that.
I've seen
I
that
don't
twice,
see
and I'm
that.
like, wait, you're a little too dark
Right.
to be holding that sign,
Yeah.
and your shoes are a little too dirty.
Yeah.
Because you definitely do need to work. Because most people I see like that have nicer shoes than I do. But I have noticed, like with my grandson in his school, there's a couple kids that are of Hispanic descent, you know, and I think they do speak English or some English, but I'm all about those who want to make it better for themselves, which is, you know, what you guys are doing, and that's great. It's those who come and are like, okay, I've heard here that you can have children, you can get
free money,
get paid by the government,
Yeah.
you can do this. And I've seen just only one or two cases of that where I'm like, okay, you obviously talked to the wrong person, and this is not going to last long for you, because it doesn't last long for Mexicans when in that type of thing.
And that's the issue sometimes, that there's not enough in education, and I think that's part of what we would like to provide is an education on how this country works. I think as Mexican people, there's no question. I'm just not talking about Latino people in general. There's no question that it is a very hardworking.
Yeah, the work ethic's there.
Work
yeah,
ethic
everyone
is
knows
there,
that.
but a lot of times certain things aren't followed or there's a lack of education on how this country works and
Right.
how to, I wouldn't say benefit from it, but how to do things the right way and
Very good.
contribute and take from it as needs to
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, because
So-
I will say this, and I've always said this about Mexicans: we work by the job, not by the hour.
Right.
So if we can do 2 jobs in one day, we're going to do it.
Right.
But also, like you said, how does everything else outside? Because we know how to work.
Right.
But how does everything outside of that in this country work? Because not everybody has the same work ethic we do. So we assume that we're going to work hard, we're going to make our money, we're going to give it to our family, we're going to send some home, we're going to buy our groceries, we're going to pay cash, and everything's going to be okay. However, you've got taxes, you've got the education, you've got zoning, you've got all these different things that they just come here and go, okay, I'm a hard worker. I know I can work hard. I can make it. So it's good that you're filling in those gaps because nobody else is telling them what else they have to do.
Right. And I think there's also like a financial education aspect behind it, which is what I preach, because
I'm all about that shit.
because I have seen it like firsthand with like my dad, who's the hardest fucking working man I know.
Yeah.
He still works 7 days a week, works his ass off, but no one ever told him. You know, my dad came. I will admit, my dad came to this country illegally. At one point in my life, that was something I was ashamed of. At this moment, I'll sit here and tell you that I'm very fucking proud of that.
Yeah.
Super fucking
Yeah,
proud of that.
good.
You know, he got his green card. He's an American citizen now.
Awesome.
But anyways, you know what I'm saying? Back to this, like, he works his ass off. And you come from these other countries and you know how to work hard. The work ethic's there. You work your ass off. You work for money. A lot of these people have never learned to let their money work for them.
Right.
Which is what we do.
Yes,
So they're
that's
sending money
amazing.
back.
Yes.
They're doing this where it's like, you could be investing this money. You could be acquiring these things.
Yeah.
And in turn build a better future for you. And
You don't just have to keep it in a box.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you want them to gain financial literacy.
Right.
And invest in yourself. So invest in your business.
Yeah.
Mind your business, right?
Right.
And so it's like most people purchase things that are liabilities. So many people, especially middle class people,
Right.
the higher lower class and the working middle class, spend so much money on liability. Whereas the upper, the higher middle class and the,
Assets.
that you purchase assets, right? So it's like if you don't teach someone that, I didn't know that.
No,
It's
no.
like if you don't teach someone to invest in, into something that's going to make you money long term, and they want to spend it on clothes and cars and shit like that, it's all depreciating.
Yeah.
As soon as you buy it, it means nothing. It's
Yeah.
not worth anything.
But you know something. I mean, maybe you can assert to this. Mexicans don't think that way. I've never known a Mexican to go buy something just for themselves. Like, oh, you know what? I really would like those pair of shoes.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's like, how does that affect the rest of the family?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there is, though. I think a lot of Mexican, Latino people do go buy shit sometimes based on, I want that new truck or I want this. And it's like, I think for me, with this nonprofit, the biggest thing for me is that we do get to work with kids, and that young high school kids that are going to college, and you can instill to them, like, hey, you don't always have to have the nicest truck. You don't always have to do all this. Make sure you have a 401k, bro.
Yeah,
like
that's
you're
it.
gonna have
Put
to
some money
retire
up.
one
Exactly.
day.
Put
You
some money
know,
up.
you need a savings account.
A fucking
You need-
Roth.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
need to find a job that has health insurance. Like,
Yes.
these are things that
Benefit,
like
yeah.
a lot of times where you're a first generation, you know, a son of immigrants. Like I had no fucking clue. Like I was thinking like, oh, I'm gonna get a job. Like I had no fucking clue about, you know, retirement plans or health care. You know, a lot of people come to this country and they think like, and a bigger thing for me that I always also want to push is like healthcare, like helping these people in healthcare, but also them realizing that like, hey, if you have an issue, like a lot of people think like if like I'm sick, I just go to the ER. Like no, they think like a doctor's a doctor.
Yeah.
And that's so far from the truth. There's like specialists in
Oh, yeah.
certain areas. There's reasons why you go to the ER. There's reasons why you go to quick care.
Yeah.
There's reasons why you go here, why you go there, why you see this person or that person. So, I don't know. We're just encompassing like a very large amount of things. And I think there's a lot of good people in this organization that I'm trying to kind of, you know, be a part of. Some of them are like way more successful than I am. Like, you know, there's doctors, Gabriel, I don't know if you know Gabriel Balderas, who owns like Zazul and Cabo Verde.
Okay, yeah.
He's part of it, and that dude is amazing at a lot of the shit he does. So it's I don't know, it's a whole different avenue for me, but I'm really excited about it. You know,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, two things. One, I've got a great financial manager. If you want to talk to him, okay, because he handles meat. I'm a Mexican, and my son is a Mexican. Secondly, man, let me know if you need anything.
For sure.
I'd definitely
For
love to
sure.
help that
Yeah.
because that's good. Because it's funny, you know, when I grew up Hispanic or Mexican, whatever you want to call it, and I didn't even really realize anything about it until I was in. Is my wife out there? Okay. When I was in 7th grade, I was dating this white girl, and my dad. I was talking to her on the phone, and then I got off the phone, and my dad goes, "Who are you talking to?" I was like, "Oh, I was talking to blank," and he goes, "Oh," he's like, "Are you dating her?" I was like, "Well, we're going together. You know, we're boyfriend girl." She goes, "Does her mom know you're Mexican?" I'm like, "What does that have to do with anything?" And from that moment on, I'm thought, what does Mexican have to do with anything? And I started realizing, oh, okay, well, he grew up with Mexican,
prejudice.
Mexicans.
Yeah.
They pick strawberries, they pick fruit, they pick vegetables, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't cavort with the white women, nothing like that. So I didn't even really realize anything about Mexican until my dad like pointed it out. But what's funny is when Sage was younger. Sage doesn't like talking to me. Doesn't like that I talk about him a lot. But I'm going to tell this story. When he was young, he was saying something to Cheryl about Mexicans, and Cheryl goes, "You know you're Mexican, right?" He's like, "No, I'm not. I'm Italian. Dad lived in Italy." She's like, "He lived in Italy, but he's Mexican." And she's like, and so Sage's like, he started crying. He's like, "I'm Mexican. I'm Mexican." And I was like, "Yeah, buddy, you're Mexican." But it's so funny now because he works with a lot of Mexicans at his job. So when I go to Dallas and I pick him up and we're going home, he's like, "Orale, joto." I'm like, "Where'd you learn that?" And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, he's working with the real Mexicans." And so, he sees that. But it was so funny that he thought that being Mexican was something to be cry about.
right. Yes, it's what. But no, I mean, I had. We're from Houghton.
Yeah.
I was probably like the only Mexican.
You were the
guy.
only Mexican there.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
only Mexican I
yeah.
knew. I think maybe you and like one other person, maybe.
Yeah, there was one guy.
One little short fella, I believe. I can't
Yeah,
remember his
and
name.
so
no discrimination.
Yeah.
We're all short.
Short.
Yeah.
What's your fucking point?
It was a little fella. Oh, you're good. You're good.
No, but I always kind of had that fear, like when I was meeting like girls' dads. Like,
That makes sense, yeah.
Oh shit!
Especially
like,
in that
this
area.
guy I might not like.
We live in an extremely segregated area.
Yeah, we
we
did.
grew up in a class or a few classes of where we integrated well, but there was still a lot of segregation.
There was, and me just being dropped in the mix, I always kind of worried about it, and I think it's followed me through life. Like, in these days, like sometimes I'm like I think about it, dude. Like, not even like I'll go into this business meeting with like fucking like all white people, and I'm like, damn, they're gonna think like, what's this Mexican doing?
Okay,
Yeah.
and now, looking at your daughter, do you think to yourself, she's going to have it easier than I had it?
Yes.
Because she's white.
I mean, it's a weird thing.
And I'm not putting it, this is not a trick question.
yeah.
I'm just curious, like when I look at my daughters, okay, My oldest daughter is half Taiwanese and half white. And then Lindsay is half Hawaiian, Chinese, and half white. And then Sage is half Mexican, half white. And I'm like, but their white is the predominant part of their outer, how they look and how they act. And they don't wear jeans and cowboy boots, but I think to myself, okay, they have a last name Chavarria, which is not it could be Italian, could be Mexican, you never know. But because of their appearance, their ability to progress further is probably going to be easier than somebody who's closer to. Because I mean, we're not that much dark. I mean,
I'm pretty white.
Yeah, you're pretty white. I got a little bit of melatonin or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Melanin. Yeah.
But I've never really. If I lived in Italy, people thought I was Italian. When I lived in Hawaii, people thought I was Hawaiian. Here, people don't know what I am.
Yeah.
But do you think that with your baby, is it more Mexican or white?
Dude, my little boy is like brownish blonde hair, these clear blue eyes.
Oh, yeah,
okay, so it's Justin Bieber. Is what you're saying. It's Justin Bieber.
The only thing Mexican about him is his last name.
Tell him to change it to Smith, and he'll get that job.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it's a weird topic. It's a sensitive topic for a lot of people. I do think I'm not going to bring up all the political aspects that go behind that. I do think that at the end of the day, regardless of who you are, where you came from, you have to make your own way.
Right.
You know, like no one can stop you from doing what the fuck you want to do.
I agree with that.
I do think that maybe as a Mexican person, or just for me, just being a first generation American, son of immigrants, you are exposed to certain things, or you do have to deal with certain things that maybe other people don't have to deal with, right? So there is other obstacles. And again, I'm not in someone else's shoes to sit here and say I had to go through this. You didn't go through shit.
That's always the thing.
It's like because everybody has to fucking go through.
Everybody's been through something, and at this point, all races, all sexes have been through some type of adversity and have a story to tell. Right? So it's like everyone has their problems. Everyone has their shit that they've trumped through. But the thing is the hardest thing you've ever been through is the hardest thing you've ever been through.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, and I will say this: growing up through my life, being Mexican has never been something that I thought would keep me from doing what I wanted to do, because I believed that I could do what I wanted to do because I believed I could do what I wanted to do. Now, every now and then, I will say this: I remember as a child when I was living in Illinois, we got eggs thrown at us, like straight up eggs, and I'm like, I didn't realize what was going on, but as I got older, I remember that moment, and I'm like, why were they throwing eggs? They threw eggs at me and my sister. And I think at the time my dad said, oh, it's because you're Mexican or something like that, because there were white kids that did it. But I never saw people as being of different races or different colors. I just kind of thought everybody was themselves. So if I failed, at least if I failed personally in my life, I never went, oh, it's because I'm Mexican. Well, no, it's because I didn't work hard enough, or it's because I didn't study hard enough, or I didn't do enough research on this thing. And I've failed in so many things in my life, but I never ever went and said, well, it's because I'm Mexican, and also by the same token, I never felt that I gained an opportunity because I was Mexican.
Right.
I see what you're saying. It was because of who I was as a person.
And I agree. It's I think everything that you have or that you accomplish, you have to work hard for. And I think, like, for me, it's always been the example that was led before me. Like, if my father can come through to this country, work his ass off, buy a fucking house, not speaking the language, still to this day, he struggles.
And he bought a house.
He bought a house here.
Wow.
He became an American citizen, all this other stuff, put 2 kids through college. Like, then, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's my excuse? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true.
And it's like, how can I sit here and say that I didn't do it because of something?
Right.
It was me. It wasn't, And
but so many people who haven't experienced that try to create a crutch that they don't really have one, right? Like it's always interesting how the people who grow up in adversity never have a bitch or complaint.
Right.
But the ones who have everything handed to them or may not just get out and make their own way are always the one that's fucking complaining.
Yeah.
Not only complaining about their lives, but they're complaining for other people who don't complain.
Right.
It's fucking annoying, man.
Yeah,
but it happens.
it's like-
What we
We're
do.
going to make it better for them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like let me fix this. Nothing's wrong, motherfucker. You're just getting in our business. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's something to do. And like I'm no Hispanic descent at all. I have a shitload of Native American in me. I need to do 23andMe because I'm not sure how much, but I know it's a shitload. Because
I'm scared of that shit, dude. I don't know.
I know my great grandmother was full blooded,
Really?
so Cherokee, but I'm not sure how much I have in me. But I'm blonde hair, blue eyes, dark skin, so who fucking knows? But I do think that it's something that this country struggled with since we came here and fucking raped and pillaged everyone,
Yeah.
and the white people got here. You know what I mean? It's just something I think every single culture has struggled with it because there's always been another society come in to overrule one. I mean, look at fucking Genghis Khan. You know, look how many people related to him in the millions in the world.
Yeah. Well, you know, I saw something the other day about when Chris Rock was talking about how when they bought Manhattan.
Yeah.
When the settlers bought Manhattan from the Indians, they said, "Oh, hey, you know, we're going to buy this from you." The only reason that the Native Americans sold Manhattan is because they didn't think that you could own land.
Yeah.
It was like, "Oh yeah, you want to buy that cloud too? Okay,
Yeah,
I'll sell you
make
that cloud
money,
for $5."
Yeah.
Because they didn't in their life and in how they grew up. It was like, we don't own the land. You don't own this.
No, we're
this
part.
is just
we're part of the land.
we're part of the
We're
land,
this.
right?
This is our
We don't-
area. And
yeah. So like, wait a minute. You want to give us money for something that
we're already a part of.
we're already part of,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think like the there's Manhattan means something. I'm not even going to say it's like privilege or something. What is Manhattan? What does Manhattan? Look it up. The meaning of Manhattan is not a good thing,
Right.
But that's what happens. They're like, yeah, you want to give us money for something that nobody can own? Well, guess what? They decided they're going to own it and they protected it.
Yeah.
So, but it's a very interesting thing. You can't really own something that you didn't create.
Right.
But yeah, so you know.
Now you can.
Yeah, now you can. now you can. Now you can say I own anything.
Yeah, you can put a monetary value on anything. What does it mean?
It says the name Manhattan derives from the Munsee-Naalape language term Manhattan, where we gather wood for bows.
Where we gather wood for bows.
Got you.
Okay.
Interesting.
Good to know.
Interesting. I didn't know it had a native element to it at all. I had no clue.
Yeah, you think of
Yeah.
New York and
And that thing was a swamp. I mean, Manhattan was a swamp.
Yeah.
Before it got developed.
Yeah, and then
You
it
know?
turned into a fucking.
But I just find it very interesting that this culture who'd lived there for 1,000 years said, "You want to pay us for something that anybody can, It's like saying we're going to charge you for air,
Yeah.
for the air you breathe."
What are your guys' thoughts on this ancient apocalypse ship? That now that we found evidence that there was human or some type of life here pre 12,000 years ago, which before we thought that was the existence of humans. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
There's a lot of shit here we don't know about. Dude.
Exactly.
I'm just saying, like this world is wild.
I'll tell you this: when I drive home from taking my son to Dallas, most time I drive at night. I've got my sunroof open, and I look up, and it's gorgeous, crystal clear. I can see everything, and I think to myself, there is no way that just all of us here now, are the first time this has happened.
Right.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
No fucking-
It's too vast. Why would you make all that for
One single planet.
For one single
in
planet.
one single galaxy.
right? And I will say this too. I do come from a religious background. I do come from
So do I.
we were
As do
created
I.
this,
Yeah,
we
we
were
all
created
do.
that,
Yeah. We all do.
and so you always have the difference between science and religion. However, I hope that there's more to this life than us.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if that's the case, it's a big waste of space.
Well, here's the thing. At the age of this planet, and then the age of us is our lifespan is extremely minute
Yes,
compared to we're literally it's a flash of flash of a
in
fucking
the
eye.
timeline of
And we
that.
get and we
Like
talked
that.
about it because the exponential
Right.
growth of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, have we ever done this before?
We could have that's when you see the great floods, like you hear the story about Noah and Moses and all those things. Could that be related to an asteroid impact that created, the Younger Dryas effect, which then wiped out the fucking planet of most life.
Yeah.
And we had to start from scratch, and we were starting from scratch with no knowledge.
Yeah.
So we could have had because look how the pyramids were built. They were built, now they know that they're older than 12,000 years is what people were saying. So there was a technology that built those pyramids that does not exist today.
Yep.
It could have been a whole nother timeline of people that had a different way of, creating things. Because like, who was it that was trying to electricity? Was it who invented
Edison?
Edison invented electricity, and he was trying to give that shit to everyone through the air, through airwaves and shit, free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they were like, fuck that shit, we're gonna fucking make money off this shit.
Yeah.
So like, there's who knows what could have happened in a pre-existing timeline, and what technology could have been there. It could have been something that we think is archaic, but yet still at the same time is
So advanced.
extremely advanced compared to how we look at things.
Or they had interactions with something else that we have
exactly.
not.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it, like, have you ever seen the shit about how, like, you look at the Aztecs, you look at the Egyptians, similar timelines, and they were doing very similar shit.
Yeah.
And
there was no...
They're fucking the stretch of where it's located.
Yeah.
And they all use pyramids.
Yeah.
And everything correlated to the sky.
Yeah.
Which tells you, okay, everything they point up, there's different beings here that come from there. Like, so it's just, I come from a religious background as well, but I keep an extremely open mind, because no matter where you grew up at, there's always a story of a creator.
Yeah.
Right? But who knows what that actual creator is? Some call it God, some call it whoever. But it's just very interesting to think about. I think about the shit the older I get. I'm just like, it's not more of a why. It's just like, what else is out there?
Yeah, dude.
What we've been so, it's been so diluted to what information we actually know. And now these archaeologists are like getting they're basically getting called out saying, look, you thought you were right. They don't want to admit it, but you actually were wrong. And there's proof right here that culture existed before you said the creation of mankind was here. So it's fucking crazy to think about.
I mean, has our fucking government admitted to aliens now?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, they did. Nobody cared.
Yeah, everybody's
like,
like,
whatever.
Yeah,
sure,
dude.
fine. Who's
We've
got
been
COVID?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Nobody gives a shit. But I always thought to myself, you know what? Because I was always told when I was younger, when you die, you can do this and that happens, and I always thought to myself, you know what? Even as a child, it's like, when I die, if I have a chance to do something, I want to go through the space. I want to go through space. I want to see all these galaxies. I want to know why all this stuff is out there, and it has nothing to do with us, and.
Or does it?
And the thing about it is,
are we an ant form?
But here's the thing too. Here's the thing: we may not be ready as a society, as a race, as an entity. We're not ready for if there is a quote unquote truth out there. We may not be ready for it. We may not be ready to accept it. We may be like you see a spider on the wall and you kill it because you're like, we don't know what the hell that is. Other species may look at us and go, okay. They're not ready for.
Yeah,
for
they
what
are not a threat whatsoever.
No,
We're
literally still.
Let's watch them.
Let's watch them.
Apes with hammers right now.
Let's watch them fuck each other up, and then we'll just chill over here.
I do think it's interesting that you're talking about UFOs. Those UFO sightings didn't really start until after the Manhattan Project.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And that was the 50s? Was that the 50s?
Well, I've had uncles who've worked on the worked in Los Alamos on the bomb.
Yeah.
And there's a stretch of road between like Albuquerque and Las Cruces, which is very desolate, and I think they call it the UFO highway or something like that, or something. There's a stretch of thing, and I drove that, and I was like looking up, going, I'm expecting to see something.
Oh, there's some shit going on out
there.
Yeah,
and it's like,
and that's where the sightings. That's where a lot of those originated later on too, like Roswell and stuff. But it's interesting that. Are those people coming and are those things coming and checking because they're like, oh fuck, they're about to destroy this world that we've helped cultivate with these nuclear weapons? You know what I mean? Like, because that's where they're testing them out there. Yeah. And when they did the Manhattan Project and brought all that shit in, it's like that. Then UFO sightings started right afterwards. Yeah. Is that a coincidence? I don't know.
Well, it's like that movie Men in Black when he goes, people are when Will Smith goes, people are people understand, and then the other guy goes, an individual is this. People as a group are this. Mm-hmm. They're afraid. They're this or that. And so, if anything did happen, for example, if something landed tomorrow, how would our society
mass
handle it?
fucking panic.
First of all, everybody would be like, okay,
Mass panic.
I'm
Yeah.
live streaming, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But also, would we as a collective be like, we want to know what you have, or we'd be like, feel threatened just because it's not somebody who's us?
I think we'd come together like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
Well, look what happened.
Everybody always wants an adversary.
Yeah.
Adversion.
But what if they're not an adversary? What if they're not an adversary? What if they're like, we got tequila. We got the best tequila in the universe.
Let me do this. And I've heard this before. You can get into all these like cultural differences, political differences. Let them fucking aliens attack. And
Everyone
watch,
comes
we're all
together.
on the same fucking side now.
What happened? What
Yeah.
happened in COVID?
Yeah.
When COVID first hit, everyone
Yeah.
freaked the fuck out, and everybody started coming together and helping each other and shit.
yeah.
You remember when
Yeah,
that happened?
yeah.
I was like, holy shit! Look at this fucking community.
Yeah.
As a whole, everyone was like trying to help each other.
Yeah, fat people were supposed to get it and die, and it
Yeah.
didn't happen. So
Yeah. What the
I think
fuck?
it's human nature to have like an adversary because
Yeah.
war
Yeah.
is all over the world.
Yeah.
That shit happens. There's always differences. Let some fucking aliens attack and see.
Well, and that's the thing too,
voicing out.
because
Yeah.
like all our movies we had first, it was the Russians. Well, it can't have Russians anymore. So then it was the Middle East. Well, then it can't do that anymore because of Muslims. And then it was it's
Korea.
always
Korea.
like Korea. It's like, who is your enemy? It's like, okay, we're gonna have to go to space for our enemies. now,
You're right.
you know?
You're right. There's no. Yeah, that's why Marvel's picking up, and you got Guardians of the Galaxy and shit. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, we're fighting people from interstellar.
You ever
regions
heard
and
of
shit.
the theory of infinity?
Oh yeah.
That
No.
shit blows my mind.
Yeah.
Please share.
So the theory of infinity basically states we're drunk tequila talking now. Anyway, so the theory of infinity basically states that the universe is so vast and so fucking big that somewhere else, right now at this very moment, this exact same thing is happening
On a different timeline.
on a different timeline. Not only that, there's so many scenarios in this thing of infinity that this thing is also happening at this exact moment, but you're in his seat, I'm in your seat,
Yep.
you're over here.
I've had
just
way
like-
too much tequila for you to be
No,
talking.
it's
Yeah,
not
it's so wild that there's so
but
many.
what's
you
it
have
called
that,
again?
You have
The theory of
But
infinity.
you have
Theory
that.
of
You have
infinity.
string theory,
Yeah.
and then you also have the simulation. So simulation effect. So
Right.
is this just a simulation
Yeah.
by something else?
Yeah, it's somebody
You
watching
see-
us.
Have you watched what's that fucking movie?
Not watching, like controlling.
Yeah,
like
controlling.
They did
It's
this.
like
They
because
put
you'll
it
see
here.
glitches in things like certain products in marketing. You thought it was called this, but it really was called something else. But
Right.
it's just a glitch in the simulation.
Right.
Like there's a movie about it. I can't think of that. Can you look up that if you don't mind?
I'm going to look it up, but I'm trying to rack my brain on what to search for.
Look it up. Simulation theory movie. Yeah, because it's fucking amazing, and anyone listening needs to check this out because it shows examples of certain things where you thought, oh, I always thought that something was called this. No, it's not actually called that. People just think that because it's a glitch in the fucking simulation.
Really?
Yeah, and like so there's outside forces controlling everything that's going on, but we don't realize it. Like so if you go in the woods, if you're alone in the woods and you hear all this noise, is that noise actually happening or is it only happening because you're there by yourself? Like it's weird. It's a fucking weird thing to think about.
Like if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there, does it make a noise?
Oh, it's not the Matrix. It's not the Matrix, man. It's
It is.
fuck.
It's the Matrix.
Which is also thought provoking, but
It's another movie, man. Just I don't know what to even search on this one, but we'll get to it. We'll get back to it.
It's wild.
But
That's what I was gonna say.
I think that it's I do think it's interesting to think outside of the box. Like if everyone puts all their thoughts into one thing and says everything has to be this way, I just think it fucking puts us in a creative box and we can't do anything outside of what we are told or made to do.
But even like logistically, like you look at stuff, and I hope what I say isn't controversial. I don't mean it in a bad way.
It's called something
Right.
effect.
So
No,
we're all we're religious people. Like I believe in God, Jesus Christ, all this stuff. But everybody, there's so many people that do,
yeah.
and it's a different God. And it's like, how can we all be right?
Exactly. That's what
You
I'm
know
saying.
what I'm
So
saying?
like,
It's
how can one religion be better than the other? And then the argument is, okay, if you're of this religion, your job is to go convert everyone else. But so you're saying if I'm born here and I grew up this way, that this is wrong?
Right.
That's why I think there's a bigger picture.
Right.
But
right.
I do know one thing. Like if you you look at Greek mythology and Roman mythology and all that stuff. You look at stuff and you look at there's always a similar timeline, a story.
Right.
Well, I read a book not long ago by Stephen King, and there was a story in that book about a guy who died. and he ended up going to almost like a DMV. And he met a man who was working there, and the man who was working there had killed a bunch of people, not because he did it or, himself, but because of the company that he worked for. They had some things in place, and then people ended up dying. And so this guy was there talking to him. He goes, look, you've been here 3 times before already, and you have 2 options. One is you can just be gone. You can eliminate yourself from all existence. Or 2, you can go back and you can relive your life. He goes, but I'm going to tell you this because you've done it 4 times already. If you go back, number 1, you're going to live the same life. Number 2, you're going to still have the same colon cancer. Number 3, you're not going to go get checked. Number 4, you're still going to die the exact same thing. And you're going to be back here talking to me again the 5th time. And the guy says, well, I want to go back. And sure enough, he goes back. And everything that the guys told him happens. He lives the exact same life every single time he goes back. Nothing changes because he doesn't know what happened to him before, but he goes back and lives the exact same life. So I think to myself, okay, if given the opportunity to relive my life, would I relive it the exact same way? Yes, absolutely.
100%.
Because I have no outside influences other than myself.
Right.
So I think the way we act and what we do is, and I don't want to base this on a Stephen King book, obviously, but we do what we do. We would do it exactly the same no matter what.
So he knew the outcome of said lifestyles?
He knew,
Yeah.
and he said,
Okay.
I'm going to go back and do it. And he was born as a baby, and sure enough, the exact same thing that this guy said, he lived the exact same life again, over and over and over
I
again.
can't imagine there would be very many humans that would accept.
But you don't remember. When you go back, you know nothing.
But I'm
Right.
saying, like, if you have the option, I can't imagine very many humans that would accept to say, okay,
To do it different?
To do it different.
Because of risk, not knowing what's going to happen.
Right.
Because, like, here's my thing. If I could go back and change some things in my past, I probably would. If I could do things, like,
Only if
could-
you knew.
Only if I knew. But if you didn't know,
But the issue with that is the controversy, but not the controversy, but the thing, like, would it lead you to where you're, like, you see your wife, you see your kids, and you're
Yeah.
like, that path may not lead
God. Okay, that's
Back
a great question.
back to her.
That's
and
a
these
great
kids,
question.
And that enough, I think, even for most humans, even if you're like a big piece of shit, I mean, you still have like a mom or something
Right.
that you love, and you're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Because
Because that's kind of like that thing where it says you got 2 pills. You got the blue pill and the red pill. The blue pill says you get $10 million today. The red pill says you go back to when you were 10 years old and know everything you know now. What would you do?
I'm taking the fucking 10-year-old pill all day long.
What are you taking?
All day long.
Wait, say it again.
You have 2 pills.
Yeah.
The red pill, you get $10 million right now. The blue pill, you go back to when you're 10 years old, knowing everything you know now.
I'm going back to 10.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Me too. I can make 10 million easy.
Yeah.
Not me.
Why
Not
not?
me.
Because you don't want to go through that life again.
Because I want the 10 million because I might not meet my wife again. I might not
Well,
have
we didn't
my
talk
son
about, we
again.
didn't get into specifics
Yeah, we
of
get
that. Yeah.
specifics.
I
But
might
if
not have my grandchildren
But if you know
again.
everything you know now, you can
But
look
here's the
for your
deal.
wife.
If I know everything, if I know I'm going to marry my wife, I'm going to try to find her 5 years before I met her.
And
And
she wouldn't be
before,
available.
and 5 years before I met her, she may be like, "Excuse me,
Yeah, who
you're
the
10."
fuck?
That's
Are
why.
you-
That's why the timelines. That's why there's all the talk of alternate timelines because you would have to be in that exact place at that exact time.
So I'd
living
rather
a
have the
different life.
money with my life. If you could give me $10 million now, I take it right now with the life I have
a good
because
thought.
I love my children. I love my. I might not have my grandchild,
Can I change my answer?
but see, and I look at it. I look at it from a different point of view. Just in the sense that try that. See what you like.
I'm good. I'm good.
Look at that. Because I think to myself, you know what? And here's the deal. What if I knew about Microsoft? What if I knew about all these things? Would my interest in it change the outcome? If I became a billionaire, would I screw the company up because I was a shareholder, like the majority shareholder in a company, and then, Microsoft goes belly up 10 years before I was even there. So I always think to myself, no, I don't want to redo what I did because I might do something that would change the people in my life that I love. They might not be there.
Yeah.
And that's what scares me the most.
And you know about it, though, right?
Yeah, especially if I know.
Yeah,
because you have all the knowledge you have at 10 years old.
True.
So I go back and oh, I'd love to see my mom again because she's gone. I'd love to hug her. I was thinking to myself, you know what? If I ever had the opportunity and I woke up one day and my mom was alive, how would I be? Would I hug her? Would I tell her, please take care of yourself? Please take care of your heart. Please be conscious of, don't be a person who goes, no, I'm fine, because you're going to die of a heart attack.
Yeah.
Instantly.
Look up Shazam. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it hit me. Look up Shazam, like people that think Shazam. Everyone thinks Shazam is a movie, an old movie, with Shaquille O'Neal as a genie. Yeah. No, it's fucking Sinbad.
Are you talking about the Mandela effect?
Yes, Mandela effect. Yes,
Mandela
that's something effect. Yes, Mandela effect. So that movie, you'll need to fuck everyone.
So who's the new dude on Marvel? Is that not Shazam too?
That's different. That's DC. That's a whole nother.
Oh, that's
thing.
Kazam.
Like, Kazam's the old movie, but
what
people
the fuck?
think that there was a movie called Shazam with Shaq.
Yeah.
But there wasn't.
Yeah.
But in my head, I know I saw that movie where he had the boombox and he come out of it, right? Yeah. But
Okay.
it wasn't him. It was Sinbad, right? And it was Kazam. I believe. I don't know.
When I was a kid,
ordeal.
we had a dog. He looked like a Benji. You remember that movie Benji, the dog? We had a dog look like Benji. His name was Shazam.
Yeah.
We named him Shazam. And every time he got lost, we'd walk outside and be like, Shazam! Shazam! And we looked like the stupidest people in the world because that show was popular at the time.
Yeah.
And he ended up dying when we were in Italy. We left him with my grandmother, and my grandmother called and said he just didn't get up. One day he just didn't wake up. He just didn't get up. He didn't want to get up. And it broke my heart because I was, 5,000 miles away. And then, so many people in my life died while I was living in Italy. And I don't want to say this as like, okay, this is why you didn't cry at your mom's funeral, blah, blah. When you are not spending every day with somebody or something, when they pass away, you remember the good things about them. So when my mom died, my sister got real mad at me. A couple of people in my family got real mad at me because I wasn't
mourning.
I wasn't
like
mourning.
They
I wasn't mourning like
yes,
they were
yes,
mourning.
Yes, exactly.
And I thought to myself, and the other day I looked up to the sky and said, God, you know what? I miss my mom. I would really like to talk to my mom today. Not about anything in particular, not about anything going on in my life. I would just like to talk to her.
Yeah.
And so I think that when you make, when people die, obviously, because I lived over here and I had my own life, when she passed away, it didn't feel like somebody I see every day. Like if my wife passed away or my daughter or my, it would totally affect me a different way. But I think that everybody grieves differently.
Yeah.
And I think not grieving is a way of grieving.
Yeah, some people put it off, and then it hits them all a ton later. What's always interesting to me is death is something that's definite.
Yep.
But it's also, I think because it is definite, people are so fucking scared of it. Because they know it's going to fucking happen, and they don't know when it's going to happen. So it scares the shit out of them. And then when it does happen, for some reason, a lot of people, and I know you guys have both seen this, they try to make it about them.
Yep.
Like if someone dies in the family, they make it all about them.
Yeah.
And their feelings are hurt because you're not feeling some type of way when it has nothing to do with them at all. Yeah. It's always interesting how that happens. And I see it all the time because as we grow older, it's like, fuck, this person just died. This person just died. I'm going to this funeral. I'm going to talk to these people. And so many people are making it about themselves,
Yeah.
Well, I had one uncle call after my mom died. I had one of my uncles call me and he goes, how are you doing? Well, I asked him, I said, how are you doing? He goes, well, you're obvious. And he said, you're obviously doing better than I am. And I kind of heard that in the back of my brain because I wasn't crying into the phone when he called me.
Right.
He says, well, you're obviously doing better than I am. I'm like, okay. And I just kind of let it go. But I think that when somebody does die, when they pass away from this life, like my grandfather, I didn't cry until they played taps. There was a trumpet, a guy that played trumpet that played taps at my grandfather's funeral. And at that moment I cried because I knew he served our country.
And it brought back a memory.
And it brought a memory. He was military. He served our country. And I didn't just think about him. I thought about every military service member who gave their life for our country when Taps played. And at that moment, I cried. When my mom died, my dad called me. He goes, she didn't make it. And I said, and I'm sure I talked about this before, so forgive me. But I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? She didn't make it. She didn't. And I knew she was dead, but I didn't comprehend that she was gone. So the first thing I said was, what do you need from me? What can I do for you? My dad said, I want you to come here. So the next day I was on a plane. And when I went to tell my wife, I walked in the room, I said, my mom died. She's gone. And Cheryl stood up from her desk. She came over to me and she hugged me. She didn't say a word. She just hugged me. And even in my own spirit in my life, I was like, I knew this was coming. I knew it was coming. And so I wasn't shocked or surprised. And I knew she was in a better place. So I didn't think to myself, oh my God, my mom, where is she? No, she's free from pain. She's free from doctors. She's free from pills and poking and prodding. And she's done with that. So would I rather have my mom here living that life, or would I have my mom be freed from that? Whatever she is, I want her freed from it.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't deserve that.
Yeah. And I'll say this, like, when it comes to, like, mourning or pain or whatever it is, you never know, like, what someone has experienced in their life to help them desensitize from that.
Yeah.
Like, shit that you've experienced might not per se soften the blow, but, like, it makes your feelings towards a certain situation different.
I can tell
like,
you.
I'll never forget, like, when my grandfather died. My grandmother didn't cry.
Yeah.
She was upset. That was her husband of however many years. But I'll never forget, she told my mom, she's like, my mom is one of 5. They had a younger brother that passed away. And she told my mom, she's like, when your brother died, that was the worst pain I've ever fucking felt. Me and your dad, which is my mom's dad, it's like, we had a great fucking life together. We knew this would one day happen. She said, but I lost a child, and that's the worst pain that I could ever fucking feel.
Some
you know,
people,
and people don't see that.
Right,
They
some
don't
people,
know that.
yeah, they don't know. They just immediately judge and
Yeah.
say, this woman's not crying at the loss of her husband. Why is
Right.
she not? Well, the worst thing that it always annoys me, I found someone, I'm not going to talk about too, because this is someone else's family, and I don't want to talk about it because it's not my business. If they were here and I have their permission, but I have found someone deceased. I did go through that, so when I do see dead bodies, and just like my wife, she sees dead bodies all the time. She's desensitized, like you said.
Yeah.
Even if it's now you do too as well,
Yeah,
working in the medical field. So like I've seen that. I've also watched someone die in front of me via an accident. So I think it has desensitized me a little bit because now I've seen death. Most people, if they haven't seen death, they don't know what it looks like, so it's extremely overwhelming.
Right.
But I've noticed as loved ones pass away, a lot of times you know it's coming at some point, so it's like, okay, you kind of preface yourself for it.
Right.
But the most annoying thing to me is when people say prayers for your family or let me know if you need anything.
Yeah.
Like, motherfucker, what are you going to do for me? I'm not the one that died.
Yeah.
I don't need anything. Like,
Right.
or and you're just saying that on a comment on social media because you feel like that you need to be relevant and looked at as someone who's supporting an individual
right.
when you're actually not supporting any fucking body.
Dude, I'll say that is a very weird thing because I've battled with this because I've seen death firsthand, and I have this conversation with my business partner Colby all the time. He's a paramedic firefighter, so he sees it too, and it's like you have this internal and for whatever it is, it's people you don't know, and but you see it, and at times you go home and you go on about your life. Right, you just saw someone die, and it's not to say that you in the medical field, you and every person in that room didn't try your fucking best.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, you continue to live on with your life. So I had to come to Jesus kind of with myself. Is is something wrong with me that I don't? Not that I don't care, and not that I didn't do everything possible.
Yeah.
But that afterwards I can just continue with my life.
It's just like anything else, right? It's still something that you're used to seeing now.
Yeah.
Whereas it's the first time you see a band you always wanted to see live.
Right.
It's the most fucking crazy shit you ever seen. And then you see it again, it's not as good as it was the first time.
Right.
And it's the complete opposite of that. I'm not comparing it as a good way, but
right.
I'm just saying the way your senses process things are now different because.
But I think that's also your brain.
Yeah,
and it does that because, dude, if you didn't desensitize it the way you do for like people that are in that lifestyle, and you took every one of the times that to the heart, you'd fucking lose your mind.
Yeah, you go fucking crazy.
Yeah,
that's why only certain people are cut out for certain things because some people do. Right. So everyone processes information differently based on how they were. It's always funny because our predecessors are who make us, right?
Right.
Your mom and your father, the way they raised you, or that's who made you who you are today.
Right.
Now, are they different than you? Yes, but the way they raised you and the way they brought you up, it created exactly you.
Yeah.
So you're going to process things completely different than they did, and so on and so forth. So for people to compare how they process something versus how you do, it's fucking irrelevant because neither one of you were brought up equally or the same.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Sorry, I'm 50. I have an enlarged prostate. So
it's okay. That's a good. The suit tells all, sir.
Thank you very much.
You wear a sports coat. You got to go piss.
I wear Armani. I can go pee whenever I want. Thank you.
I'll piss right here.
I'll piss right here. I was about to say, give me a bottle.
But it's not even a morbid topic. I think it's just an important topic. Like it should not be thought of where death should not be something people are scared to talk about.
Right.
It's like I'm gonna put this on the radio already, and I've told you that. I say the radio, the fucking podcast, the waves. If something happens to me, y'all motherfuckers don't have me no funeral. And one of you son of a bitches.
We're gonna smoke a pork.
You need to carry this thing on and have a fucking party. I don't like what we're doing here is gonna outlive us, right?
Right.
What we're doing, we're putting out information here, and it's gonna stay there until the internet's not a thing anymore. But I think people need to talk about it, man. I think people need to sit down and talk about it.
I think you need to talk about like what your wishes are because I'll say this just from just being in healthcare. Like, I'm gonna say this 100% honest. There is worse things than dying.
Yeah,
there is worse things than dying, and I think sometimes that's the love that we have for people that we hang on to people. And I've seen it in healthcare sometimes where they want everything done. Like, we want this done. If
there's no reason for it.
There's a 0.1% chance that this could happen, and it's like, so like I've had these conversations with my wife. I'm like, if I get to this point, like let me go. Like don't put me.
Yeah, it's called a living will. We have that.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
And my wife and I have that too, and it's important that most people don't talk about that or have that. Don't have a trust, don't have a will, don't have anything. And if it's not in there, then guess what? It's going to be a cluster.
And I've told my wife, I was like, my mom, Geneva, she's gonna try to beat your ass for pulling that plug.
Yeah,
sure.
But if I get to that point, because you know that's my, I think
it's your wish.
That's my wish.
But it has to be legally fucking bound,
right? Because I see people all the time, and it's like, man, like
Cheryl, you're gonna pull the plug, right?
Grandma's had a.
Absolutely,
absolutely. She's gonna pull the plug.
Grandma's had a great life, I promise. And it's
and that's the thing too. It's like, like a lot of times it's like, look, a person. They're done. They're good.
Yeah.
They're good. We keep them here for us.
Yeah.
Not for them.
Yeah, we're selfish as fuck. The people that get mad at us are selfish. We're selfish.
Oh, we're so selfish.
It's like my grandmother always tells stories, and she's in her 80s now, and the things they've seen and done, like trump everything we've been through.
Right.
Like, and they didn't even see it as adversity because that's just how they grew up. Like. She had like fucking 10 siblings or something. I don't know a lot. She's like one of the middle
my dad's
child.
like one of 11.
Yeah, and she was talking about the mom, her mom having a baby, and they buried him in a matchbox.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because he was born, or prematurely, and just shit like that, like crazy stuff like that. If someone were to go through that now, would lose their fucking mind. Right. Kind of like if you watch the movie Sling Blade, where the dude had to bury the kid in the back of the
because when I was in New Mexico one time, staying with my grandmother, and we went to this cemetery, and my grandmother was cleaning up some headstones and putting stuff up. And I asked my aunt, I'm like, what is she doing? She's like, oh, those are your uncles. You had 2 uncles that died at birth. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? So I asked my dad, I'm like, I had 2 uncles that died at birth? He's like, yeah. I'm like, what the fuck did you tell me?
Yeah.
Seriously. And my grandmother still remembers her babies who didn't live.
Yeah.
And she goes and she puts flowers on them. And she does that. And and that's an interesting thing too, because when my grandmother died, my grandmother on my dad's side, when she passed away, she was still in love with my grandfather. Mm-hmm. And he divorced her and went and met another family, but she still loved him. She still felt that was the love of her life. She never remarried. And what's funny is I had two different grandparents in the same area. I have one in La Mesa or Mesilla and then one in Las Cruces. my dad's grandmother lived in Las Cruces, and she lived in a house that had plumbing. My mom lived in a house that didn't have plumbing. So when I had the opportunity, I'd go to the house that had plumbing. But it was a totally different environment between the two. Mm-hmm. My grandmother Chavarria, my uncles pretty much raised me. They taught me how to be an asshole, for lack of a better word. Whereas my other family, my mom's family, were like, we don't have time for you. But my dad's family was like, okay, we're going to go fight this group over here is messing with us. We're going to fight them. I'm like, okay, good. And my grandma was like, no, mijo, don't go. And I'm like, I'm going with Edward. We're going to go. We're going to fight somebody. Because that's what it was.
Just out there throwing hands.
That's how it was. We're going to go, hey, you got the lemons. We want the lemons. So we're going to fight. But having those two different, the two different variances between both my mom and my dad had 7 brothers and sisters. Mm-hmm. And my dad actually had 9 because 2 of them died. But they had the same amount of brothers and sisters. And my grandmother Cano lived in a adobe house. My grandmother Chavarria lived in a house that had running water and electricity. So spending time with them was the same but different. You know, I could walk barefoot and play with chickens with my grandma Cano, but my grandma Chavarria, I could play baseball and I could do all the modern things. So it was a really different type of thing. And as a 6, 7, 8-year-old, it was really intense to know that I could go play baseball in an organized way, or I could go to the elementary school and play little games that they offered during summertime. So there was always, you know, and if I had the opportunity, I'd always like to go spend time with my grandma Chavarria, because she was more modern. Mm. She had a stove. She had, you know, a sink. She had a dishwasher. You know, all these other things. But my grandmother Cano was tortillas and beans and the old school.
Yeah.
So, every day I thank God for the fact that I had 2 different types of environments in my life, and I was able to meld them into who I am today. Yeah. So for that, I'm very appreciative.
I mean, none of my grandparents were modern. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, so it's weird because both my grandparents on my mom's side have passed away, and then both my grandparents on my dad's side are still alive. But I haven't seen them in years, so it's like.
Were they in Mexico?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have a relationship with them, or you just hadn't been down there?
I mean, it's just it's a weird thing, you know. It's like, you know, even my dad. Like, can you imagine, like, you know, and I think we take it for granted sometimes. Like, my parents live, you know, 15 miles from here, but I still don't see. I mean, I see them, but it's, you know, you can drive there whenever, and then it's like my dad might see his parents once a year if he's lucky,
right? You
know, if he goes to Mexico and sees them. And I, like, the last time I saw my dad's mom was like 4 or 5 years ago. I remember she just gave me this big hug, and she was like, "You're the one grandson that I thought I wouldn't see this trip."
Oh,
and I was like, "Okay, you know, like, it's awesome." And she was just crying, and it's like wild, but it's weird to have like this whole another family in Mexico and think like, I may never see these people. Like, I have cousins that, like, we used to go a lot when we were younger, but now, you know, life goes on, life is busy. Like, I don't. And, you know, Mexico's a dangerous place nowadays. So me taking it upon myself to drive to the middle, not drive, but like you fly in to Guadalajara, which is the second biggest city of Mexico. But from there, like, you have to figure out how to get to this small little town. So
and you white as fuck.
Yeah. So like, to me, it's like, bro, I don't know. Like, if this is going to work, you know, like how I get there. And so it's like, you know, you have family members, you're like, I might not ever see them again. And that's like a weird, like.
Well, what's interesting is when my grandmother was passing away, I went to El Paso to see her. And you know, you got El Paso and Juarez, right? I mean, you can literally see it across the border. And I remember that's the last time I saw my grandmother alive, but I went to go see her, and she was in ICU. And my mom and my aunt Bernie were there, and I went and I saw my grandmother, and the nurses. I was talking to the nurses because my daughter was a nurse, right? So I was talking to them, and I said, you know, my grandmother had to be her dressings had to be changed. And the nurse asked me, are you okay with that? I was like, Grandma, are you okay with it? Because I'm fine with it. And my grandma was like, yeah, okay, I'm fine with it. And so, they disrobed her and everything like that. And I said, the fact that I don't see anything except a person in need,
Right,
was really good to me. And then when I was a kid, I used to go to her when I was sleeping in her house. I'm like, Grandma, I'm so thirsty. I want some water. And she's like, well, get some water, but don't get any ice because the ice is bad. Don't drink ice at night. And so we were at ICU at night, and my grandmother was thirsty. And I said, well, here, Grandma, just drink water with no ice because ice is bad for you. And she started laughing so hard. And my aunt got mad at me. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, look at her. She is happy because she knows she used to tell me this shit. And I brought it back at her and she's laughing. And I remember when she called me because my mom called me. She goes, Mijo, she goes, Grandma talked to the priest and she's ready to go. And I said, well, let me talk to her. And so I talked to my grandma. I said, how are you? She's like, Mijo. She goes, I'm ready. She goes, I'm so tired. I'm in so much pain. I'm ready. I said, well, Grandma, you deserve it. You're ready to go. So you go. Don't even worry about it. We got this taken care of. I said, don't worry. I'll take care of Mom because my mom always used to complain to my mom how I never called her. And I used to tell my grandmother, you know what, Grandma? The phone has 2 lines. She can call me if she wants to. So my grandmother, she passed away. And so I talked to her. And then afterwards, I talked to my mom. And I told my mom, I said, you know what? That was a lot harder than I thought it was. I started crying. I said, that woman had so much to do with who I am as a person. The fact that I had a chance to say goodbye to her. Because she knew it was time. She's like, I'm done. I'm ready to go. And no more than 2 days later, she passed away. So the fact that my grandmother allowed me to be 100% honest with her, and she knew that she could be 100% honest with me, was the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that.
Yeah, because so many people put their selfish tendencies in front of that stuff.
One more question before we leave, because I think we have
about to wrap up here in a minute,
wrap this up. Are you afraid of death?
I used to be scared shitless of it. Now I'm not. Now I feel like I want to prepare everyone else. Maybe that's selfish of me, right? But I know, I'm like, look, if something happens to me, X, Y, Z.
Right.
Because I give a fuck about what happens afterwards. But here's my question. When you do die, do you even know what's going on after you die? That's what's fucked up. It's like I have all these wishes for after I die, but if I do, am I even going to fucking know any of these things are happening?
Yeah.
That's what I always think about.
You afraid of death?
As of recently, no. I'm more so afraid of if I die, like who's going to take care of my kids.
Exactly.
That's true.
Exactly.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. I think I'm not afraid of death. I'm afraid of not accomplishing what I want to accomplish while I'm here. But then, like you said, it's like I might die, and like who fucking knows? Yeah. Who gives a fuck? But I think why I want to accomplish what I want to accomplish is for those kids and my wife, that I left them in the best position possible. To be
productive.
Yeah.
Well, in the last episode, we talked about this. We talked about how I almost died twice. And the second time, I thought to myself, this is it. I'm ready to go. And I don't fear death. The only thing that I fear is that I've left things unsaid.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. I have no idea what happens when we die. I have no idea if when we close our eyes, that's it. We're gone. That's it. No problem. And I think somebody else I talked to, or somebody else I'd heard talked about how a certain religion talks about when they die, that's it. It's gone. And then they couldn't understand that and said, well, okay, do you remember what life was like before you were born? No. Well, that's what's going to be like when you're dead. You don't know. I don't fear death. I think the only thing that I fear is that, and it's kind of weird. I fear having a heart attack while I'm driving my grandson. I fear having a heart attack while I'm driving my son back from Dallas.
Yeah.
I fear taking somebody else with me when I die. That's the only thing I fear. Death itself, I fear that my wife and my children got to clean up all my shit that I have in my studio and my house and all the things that I have. So a while back, a friend of mine had passed away, and I decided that when I die, I don't want my family to have to go through everything that I have and go, do we need to keep this? Do we need to throw it away? Everything that I have that's important to me is not important to my family. Mm-hmm. So they'll just throw it away. Right? Yeah, she'll throw it away. But I don't want them to have to go through everything and go, okay, why did he keep this? I just want to be, when I leave this earth, I want to be free. I want nobody to think about anything other than the impact I had on them. Mm-hmm. So I've been faced with death twice, and both times I said, okay, I'm ready. I'm not excited about it.
Right, but you come to terms.
I come to terms with saying, you know what? If this is how it goes, if this is how I go, I'd rather it be this way than my body mangled in a horrible car accident.
Yeah, I think, just like I said earlier, people need to have these conversations. I've had this conversation with my wife because she lost a previous husband, and she's been through death on a daily basis in her occupation. Mm-hmm. So she knows. And so she wants to have these conversations. When she first started having those conversations with me, I was uncomfortable. Mm. But then I learned, okay, she's wanting to have these conversations because it's important to her what happens if I do.
Right.
Which makes
what if she goes?
Right, same thing.
Right.
Same thing. It's important that we have those conversations because she's been through that and knows when this happens, what does it do to the children? Right. What does it do to your spouse?
Yeah.
What type of financial burden do you take on? What does it do to the family? Yeah. Those things are important. They need to be talked about, but nobody wants to talk about them because they're fucking scared of it.
I mean, simple things like life insurance. It's
extremely important.
Yeah.
Get life insurance.
And I know some people might take the wrong way. Oh, you're trying to get an insurance policy.
No, fuck
and it's like, it goes vice versa. Like, if you pass away, me and my wife had this conversation, and we both have insurance policies for that reason. It's an uncomfortable conversation, but it's like, if I were to pass away, that's going to put, you got enough shit to deal with.
Well,
and vice versa.
The type of living is going to change.
Financial should be the least of it. You got kids to raise. Mm-hmm. You got all this other shit. Yeah. So at least you're going to get, and I get it.
And that's something Mexicans do not think about.
There you go. There you go.
Boom. That's 100% what you need to be teaching.
Yes.
Is the fact that we all die. Yeah. We all go, and the fact that when the person that is the either the female or male in charge, when they go, what are you going to do?
Yeah, and to some people, someone passing away, you are creating a huge fucking financial burden on your significant other.
No, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? So at least be prepared for that.
Yeah.
Know that, hey.
Why do you want to do that to them and your children?
You can bury me, Yeah.
And Cheryl and I are in my wallet. I'm going to show you this right now. In my wallet, I have a card that when I die, where's it at? It's in here somewhere. When I die, if I should die and somebody finds this, they know exactly where I'm supposed
to be. They're going to have to fucking look hard.
Exactly, right? The cops will give it to my wife.
Shit.
They probably gave up by now.
Yeah, they gave it up by now. But
we're going to put that shit in the front pocket.
There's something in my wallet that says exactly all of my... here it is.
Bro.
Here, go.
I gave up, bro.
There you go.
Oh, Kilpatrick's funeral home.
Yes, all of my after death things have been taken care of.
Yeah,
everything's been paid for. Everything's been taken care of.
Manuel, I didn't know that was your middle name.
Yeah, Manuel. Yeah, it's my grandfather's. That's my grandfather's first name. But yeah, everything's taken care of. So when you do that, when you get all that taken care of, and as you get older, you think, okay, I know I'm going to die. I'm not going to live forever. Try to leave as little burden as possible to those who you love. Cheryl and I both have this card in our wallets, in her purse, in my wallet. So everything's paid for. We're done. So don't worry about that. Don't worry about our funerals. Everything's taken care of. We're both going to be cremated. Don't worry about that. Worry about the rest of your life, And a lot of people say, "Oh, I'll leave this money to my children. I'll leave that to my." Nuh-uh. I'm not going to leave anything to my children because our children we set them up to be successful. So you go being successful. Do not expect us to die and leave you a bunch of money. We're going to leave it to our grandchildren. But when they turn 18, they're going to be ballers. But do not expect our death to be a way for you to go on with your lives. No. We set you, all our children, well, 2 of them we set up to be debt-free after graduation. One of them didn't do what they should have done, but that's beside the point. However, do everything you can to make sure that your children, when you die, if you should die and you have nothing, your children are able to continue to go on to live their lives and not wait for you to die.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people are waiting for somebody to die.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, as soon as they die, I get this money. I get this. Yeah.
Yeah, they do, though. They're like, oh, my grandma dies. They're going to leave me a bunch of money.
Yeah.
You know, like. But,
and then turns out, grandma didn't have no money.
Yeah, no shit.
Grandma had a trailer with 2 flat wheels.
Yeah.
She's in debt like the rest of us.
That's right.
Let's wrap this thing, fellas.
All right, guys.
As always, I enjoyed it. What's the pick of the evening, man? What do you guys call it? You know, I'm already partial to.
I'll call it a tie, dude.
I'm putting it.
Crystalino was good to me.
Yeah.
It was a tie.
So
I will say it was a tie.
Because I mean, I know
now
both.
there's this much gone from here, this much gone from here. So I need to add. I need to.
Yeah. You need to check and make sure. I guess I will too. When in Rome. I haven't been to you.
I'm
so,
good.
you know.
I still gotta go by the brewery, so I'll probably have a beer while I'm there.
I have a designated driver.
When in Rome.
Cheers, fellas.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.